Hey, Run Junkies, it is midwinter, mid-January, and I have to wonder, when is the sun coming back? Today, I'm going to talk to you about my tips for battling the winter blues, so please like and subscribe. Stick around. Seasonal depression, seasonal affective disorder, cabin fever, SAD. Yes, these are all names for the winter blues. It is a clinical diagnosis. Seasonal affective disorder is actually a clinical diagnosis, but many people like myself tend to not get that official diagnosis because I think when we know, we know. When we feel that mood change and we feel our kind of energy start to slump, we kind of know what we have to deal with. I am not a medical professional or a doctor of any kind. So these are just my tips on how I deal with seasonal depression. So what is it? What is seasonal depression? So while many of us start to notice symptoms of this seasonal affective disorder once the daylight hours start getting shorter, so maybe November, some of us don't really feel it until well into the winter, maybe midwinter. For me, I start feeling it full force mid-January about this time. And I really have to tap into those tips. So once the holiday lights come down for me, that's when I really start feeling it. So symptoms of seasonal affective disorder are depression, as indicated in the name, seasonal depression, loss of energy, and basically a lack of focus and interest in the things that you really enjoy doing. For us as runners who may find that recharge in those outdoor workouts, it can be tough for us, especially when the mornings are colder, though the days are colder and the daylight hours are fewer. Maybe we have to battle snow and ice, treacherous conditions, and it's hard to get that momentum, especially when our mood is lifted by those daily work. We also still live in COVID land, and for many of us, our gyms are closed, and the places that are kind of our go-to in midwinter, where we go to recharge our batteries, it's kind of hard to make it up as we go and find those places to get that workout in without having to battle the cold and the dark. So I get it. It's tough to battle the midwinter blues, and over the course of my adulting life, I've discovered several tips and strategies to keep the momentum going, keep me motivated and moving from now until the spring equinox.
My first tip is light, and the more the better. And if the sun is out, I'm really just good with opening up the blinds and letting in as much light as possible. But I've also been known to go all over the house turning on every light we have. On those darker, cloudier days, I turn on my sun lamp here at my desk, and it's amazing the difference this makes with my productivity. I'll leave a link in the description for similar lamps, which are an inexpensive option to keep the light flowing. Now, when I really go nuts and need a lot of lights, I turn on my studio lights. I mean, it's a lot, but it does two things. It adds the light, and it also keeps the room a little warmer. The next tip I have is to get outside midday, especially on these bright, sunny Colorado days. I soak up the sunshine when I can, and I try not to miss an opportunity when we have one of these bluebird days. I try to make it a lunchtime habit, even if it's a quick walk around the block. It also gets me out of a house full of people for a few minutes, and it serves as a really good brain reset. Fitness is always a good way to keep the depression at bay, so while getting out to run is a great idea, and many times it lifts my mood, I've found that a good yoga session really helps get the blood and breath flowing. Now, when the breath is flowing, the brain is getting oxygen, which helps us feel a bit more alert and focused. Another tip is to just take that nap. Now, we as the human animal kind of slow down in midwinter anyway. As tropical creatures, we don't really hibernate, but we do pump the brakes when the days get shorter, darker, and colder. We're diurnal, so when the sun goes down, we do too. I always advocate sleep for fitness recovery, and midwinter is a great time to get a little extra. Squeeze in that power nap and rest when you can. I always find that midsummer I don't nap or sleep nearly as much as I do midwinter. So when in doubt, take the nap. Find those alternatives for the dark early morning run. Hit the treadmill if you have one, or find a way to make your run a lunchtime priority, aka a brunch. Alternatively, if you try an indoor cross-training session with whatever's available to you, you don't really need much. Another way I like to battle the winter blues, and this may not be for everyone, but I like to dress up my run kit a little bit. Maybe it's a fun tank top or a t-shirt and a sparkle athletic skirt. Those are my go-tos. I just feel a little extra on those days. It makes me smile inside and out, maybe spreading the joy a little bit to others out on the trail. And this is my last tip. Cut yourself some slack. This time of year, we really just kind of want to snuggle in and rest more, which is actually okay to a point. Just allow yourself a little reduction in productivity over those midsummer days when you have 12 plus hours of sunlight, right? With less than 10, I know my productivity feels like I'm never going to get all the way through the day. I'll pick one or two things that I have to get done and call the rest gravy.
Look, dealing with the winter blues is really tough for many of us. And just like everybody else, we have some good days and we have bad days. When we get into the dark and cold of the winter months, though, it can really start to weigh on us. That lack of sunlight can really weigh on us without us ever really knowing what's going on. So I really hope these tips helped and that you can use them to kind of keep going throughout the winter. If you really struggle with depression, I strongly encourage you to seek counsel if necessary. Look, depression is real, and I don't believe that we discuss the ramifications and the issues surrounding depression enough. Now, for most of us who deal with seasonal depression, we can turn it around in a couple of months and start to feel better when the sun starts coming out a bit more. But that isn't to say it isn't a serious issue, so I'm leaving resources in the description below. Maybe they can help. But that's going to be it for me today, you guys. Thank you so much for watching. My question for you today is this: how do you deal with the winter blues? What are your tips for getting through those dark and cold winter months? Please leave thoughts, questions, comments, and suggestions in the comment section down below. Hit that like button and subscribe, and tell your friends. We'll see you on the next one. Until then, remember, you have no limits. Happy running. Junkies, it is mid-July. Mid-July. I wish it were mid-July. Mid-January. It's